Hi, good day everyone. I am Luel Qingdao and together with me are my group mates, Riza, Victoria, Risha, and we are the group 2. So now we will be discussing the history and the historical methodology. So here we have, like I said earlier, my group mates are um, Michi, Victoria, Riza, and Risha. So we have our intended learning outcomes. So at the end of the lesson, students will be able to understand the significance of historical methodology in studying the past, differentiate between internal and external criticism, and apply this method in evaluating historical sources. And last is appreciate the significance of historical sources in shaping national identity and develop a deeper sense of patriotism. So next is we will have a quick recap to what history is. So as being defined, history is derived from the Greek word historia, meaning knowledge acquired through inquiry or investigation. It is also known as the study of the past events. It is the account of the past of a person or group of people through written documents and historical evidences. History also focused on writing about the wars, revolution, and other important breakthroughs. So without history, we will not be us today. So historians are the one or are individuals who write about history. So it is stated here that if no document, there will be no history. So when examining a source, the historian must conduct, as we say here. But before we go into that, we have to understand the answer of Miss Gabriel Bashano in his and the question, how does historian and emeritus differ from each other? So here she said that a historian is one who recognizes our painful past with factual evidence, looking back at our rich, vibrant history and as well as the time that our humanity is trampled on and our heritage is almost erased. If you look at our past, we can surely move onward and upward and rebuild, rise from the pandemic, and dream for a safer and healthier and happier Philippines. Do you agree with the statement? Obviously, yes. So now let's delve to the topic itself, the internal and external criticism. What is external criticism? It is also sometimes called as lower criticism. It is the genuineness of the document. It is a form and appearance, and more particularly to question of authorship and textual circumstances such as time, place, and purpose. External criticism is the process of verifying the authenticity of a historical document, while external criticism is the process of evaluating documents content. So basically external criticism, it looks on the appearance, the material being used in a specific um, historical document or artifacts. External criticism is concerned with the authenticity and genuineness of the data and should be considered first. So beforehand, before we internally criticize a historical document, we should go first with externally criticizing it, or we should first go with the external criticism, which is also called as preparatory stage. The practice of verifying the authenticity of evidence by examining its physical characteristics, consistency with the historical characteristic of the time when it was produced, and the material used for evidence. Example of this is Example of the things that will be examined when conducting an external criticism of a document include the quality of the paper, the type of ink, and the language and words used in the materials, among others. So the best example of this is the written book of Dr. Jose Rizal, which is the Noli Me Tangere and El Filibusterismo. So when we externally criticizing it, we will be looking to the material type of paper he used that time, as well as the ink he used during the time he wrote the specific artifacts or historical document. So it establishes the validity by determining the authenticity of the course. It, like I said earlier, it is a preliminary and preparatory step, providing data to be used in the second phase, which is the internal criticism. Primarily deals with relating to form, like I said earlier, external criticism, highly focusing on the form and the appearances rather than the meaning of the content. So basically, it's only about the material, the background of the specific historical document. Next is the internal criticism. So it is also called as higher criticism. The meaning and the trustworthiness of the contents of the documents, value and worth of its contents, its literal meaning and reliability of the statement themselves. So from the word itself, um, the content. So basically, it tests or it criticizes how consistent the content of a specific um, historical document. So, for example, we have the Noli Me Tangere. Is it consistent with the time we were colonized by the Spanish? Is it consistent all throughout the end? Yes, the answer is yes. So, internal criticism, it looks at the content of the course and examines the circumstances of its production. It also looks on the truthfulness and factuality of this evidence by looking by the author's source, its context, the agenda behind its creation. For example of that is the agenda why, the reason behind why Jose Rizal is tempted or were able to write um, the Noli Me Tangere. Of course, we know that he wrote that because he want to enlighten the mind of the Filipino because of the um, we were colonized because of the injustices made by the Spaniards during that time. So he wants to um, open our mind and not to start a rebellion, but rather to inspire us to um, search for knowledge. Because at the time, he believed that ignorance was the root cause of all the problems that happening during the Spanish era. So it entails that the historians acknowledge and analyze how such reports can be manipulated to be used as war propaganda, validates important historical sources for unverified, falsified, and untruthful historical source that can lead to equally false conclusion. Without this thorough criticisms, historical evidences, historical deceptions and lies will all probable. And to end my topic here, the task of the historian is to organize the past that is being created so that it can offer lessons for nations, societies, and civilization. The historian's job is to seek for the meaning of recovering the past to let the people see continuing relevance of memory, remembering, and historical understanding for both present and the future. So that's all for now for my part. Thank you so much for listening.